Returning from his day of bloodshed and violence, Jules crawls into the comfort of literature, late into the night. Today's mission was to get another vehicle working, otherwise the burned calories of scavenging on foot would leave him to ultimately starve. Pushing himself through the lengthy walk to the rural homes he had been fighting towards, he remembers seeing a truck up the road that he hopes is in working order. Unable to find any keys, but able to siphon some gas from one of the cars, Jules already feels his strength waning, but is determined to make progress up the gravel road. Returning back to the truck for a power nap, Jules' resolve is starting to weaken as the barrier of undead seems endless and impossible. Finding himself utterly exhausted as the final hours of light cast over the dense woods, Jules can barely keep his crowbar aloft as he fights for just a moment of peace. With night fast approaching, he makes the risky decision to cut through the woods to a house he spotted above the tree line. If he could make it inside, not only could he secure more food, but also a place to sleep. Knowing now that he'd get to the radio station long after night fell, Jules retrieves his bag that he was forced to drop and begins the uneasy trip back to the safety in the encroaching darkness. Terrified not only by the growling shadows that lurked in the woods, Jules finds himself deeply troubled about his current situation. Every step forward was at the cost of 2 steps back, and for the first time in his life, he couldn't rely on others to free him from his burdens. At least as he crawls back to the growing comfort of the radio station, he knows that tomorrow will bring a working vehicle with gas he had secured, though the cruisers he had the keys to were equally battered as himself. Confirming the sorry state his modes of transportation were in, Jules ends up fueling and replacing the battery on the one that looks marginally less likely to crumple into pieces while moving down the road. Content with simply retrieving the supplies he had abandoned in the van days ago, Jules decides that today would be the day that he discovered the entrance to the service road leading to the tower. reliably use a vehicle to drive right up to his front door, then a whole new world of possibilities opened up for the desperate survivor. Exploring in the natural direction he assumed the access road would be, the only finding of interest is an overturned car that holds little but the reminder that the dead aren't the only deadly threat left in this nightmare. Finding his mind wandering to what his purpose might be after he achieves a safe enough situation for winter, Jules sinks into an uneasy calm as the empty road comes as a welcome change compared to his previously bloody days. Having forgotten about the resort town west of the country club, Jules is left shaken and broken as his near brush with death and denial to his home proves too much for his fragile state. Falling back into an almost trance-like state, his abused mind yearns for the comfort of another book, latching onto the warm embrace of the printed word to help pull him back from the brink. Looking over his pitiful food reserves, Jules knows there's no other option but to strike back towards the Valley of Death he had created along the rural road. At least thankful his legs weren't already shaking by the time he reached his destination, Jules looks through the splintered windshield at his tireless enemy and takes a fortifying breath. Adopting an almost numb state of mind as his clothes become drenched in blood, Jules finds himself longing for the days that Marcus would deal with these horrors. but Marcus was gone, and Jules could only rely on himself. Returning to the house he had fled yesterday, he discovers that the horde he had spotted had made their way inside, serving as the final confirmation that Jules' progress was done for the day. Watching dark clouds roll overhead before a light rain begins to fall, Jules can feel the growing gusts of wind that indicate a storm crawling over Knox County. Securing at least a couple days worth of food, Jules almost welcomes the coming storm as an excuse to stay sheltered in his isolated safe haven, having cherished the sound of rain peppering his roof long before the outbreak had occurred. Finishing a beginner's book on carpentry, Jules feels a burst of inspiration to try and apply his new skills before he is faced with the harsh reality that knowing how to do something and actually doing it is two entirely different beasts. Heading to bed disappointed and bitter at himself, Jules grapples with the knowledge that his book smarts can only get him so far, and he must suffer through the agony of mediocrity before gaining any genuine skills. Using his self-centered anger to spur him forward, Jules attacks the expendable furniture of the station with a vengeance as the storm continues to grow outside. practicing some axe swings on the saplings dotting the yard, he eventually moves the fall and aged pine, but once again is met with clumsy and unpracticed strikes that fill him with rage. Beginning to store the firewood beneath the awning of his building, Jules assumes he'll need the fuel for fire if he makes it through the winter, but fully acknowledges that his chances of making it to November are already looking slim. It's the first day of October, and the brink of winter is announced with a bitter and relentless thunderstorm. I find myself in the precarious position between living and dying, though I suppose that's nothing new. I'm just now faced with the reality of being removed from those around me. Before the dash from the country club, I had perhaps dispatched a few dozen of the infected. Now I'm sure my body count is in the triple digits. My clothes and hands are constantly covered in blood. It makes me long for a time not so long ago that we had running water. Hopefully, tomorrow, the rain lets up. Jules.